Yep. Good afternoon and welcome to this South and East Devon Habitat Regulations Executive Committee meeting on Thursday the 30th October 2025. I'm your chair, Councillor Jeff Young. Can I remind everyone present that this meeting is being streamed to the Council's YouTube channel? Can all members and officers making a contribution to the meeting please use the microphone, or your comments will not be recorded. So we move on to agenda item 1, minutes of the previous meeting held on the 24th of July 2025. It's the committee's wish that I sign the minutes of the meeting as a true and accurate record. Yep. Thank you for that. Agenda item 2, apologies. Have we got any apologies, Debbie?
No, not that I'm aware of, Chair. Looks like everyone's here.
Right. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Do any members have any interest to declare? No, we haven't got any interests. Agenda item 4, public speaking. There are no members of the public registered to speak, so we move on to agenda item 4. Item 5, matters of urgency. We have no matters of urgency. Agenda item 6, to agree any items to be dealt with after the public have been excluded, and there are none. So we go on to agenda item 7, 24-25 annual business plan, annual report. So I would ask Neil Harris, Habitat Regulations Delivery Manager, to comment, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon. So this report is an update to the committee on the progress made in delivery of the 24-25 annual business plan. And a few highlights I would mention are the increase in staff resources for Devon Loves Dogs. We now have Trish Waller, Assistant Project Officer in post, full-time, and also recruitment of the SANG and Infrastructure Projects Delivery Officer, Lucy Dennis, who's with us today. We also have ongoing delivery of the South East Devon Visitor Survey. We're about halfway through that now. There's good progress being made there. Number of responses is positive and increasing. Also, good work undertaken with the audit and redesign of information boards at Dawlish Warren. That work, the design work has been finalised, and we're now expecting that to be installed over the winter. Also, good progress made with the ex-patrol boat arrangements with the Port Authority. The agreement signed, payments now been made, the insurance is all arranged. That's an update from the report. We're now fully operational and the team have been out on the water, so all going well there. And the fencing works at the Warren have been put in place by the ranger team at the Warren. That's earlier in the year. A note just to mention that as the new mitigation strategy has been adopted, that replaces and supersedes the previous strategy. Appendix A to the report contains the last update and explanation regarding the status of the measures contained within the previous strategy. And a couple of delays to note, the low hedge planting at the Imperial Recreation Ground. As the report makes clear, there's been some delays there in relation to the revetment engineering works that are required, and the petal wet monitoring couldn't take place due to the environmental conditions and dry weather, and that's been rescheduled. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil, for your report. I'm glad you've covered the two delayed items. We had a conversation just now with the engineers on the revetment that we have to repair, and there might be a chance to do planting next autumn, but now that there's a lot of bridges to cross and things to sort out before that happens. But that's if we keep an eye on that one, that we don't. It could go on for the years with getting engineering works done, unfortunately, because of the funding that we have to get from the Environment Agency. The other thing is the monitoring of petalwort. That's been delayed, but I believe it's going to be starting very shortly.
Yes, that's right. So I've been in contact with the site warden at the Warren, and all being well, this next survey is scheduled for the next 2 weeks, site conditions allowing.
Thank you very much for that. Is there any questions from anyone? Ruth.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering about the other patrol boat that we're no longer needing, and I think that was going to be sort of taken out of the water. I just wondered if there's an update on that, whether it's being sold or what. Thank you.
So the arrangements were that we're going to keep the existing boat in the marina for a period of up to 4 months. That's to make sure that the arrangements, both for our team and for the Port Authority, are working well. Part of the agreement, the arrangement we had with the Port Authority was that after that period, we could then store it on the hard at Topsham Quay. And then after the kind of culmination of the pilot period, 12 months, we can then, I can then come back to the committee and recommend that we either revert back to using that boat or sell it and reinvest the proceeds.
Any other questions? Yes,
Just to note that the old patrol boat, which is still being used, and we saw on Friday on the TV, does seem to be a very good platform for cameras and for viewing. But yes, I do understand the need for us to look sensibly at that particular type of resource, its availability to us, and of course that we have staff fully trained in the use of that when fully deployed, and of course the protective equipment as noted in 2.4.
any other questions or comments? If not, recommendations for the report are to note the progress made in delivering the 24-25 annual business plan, and note the status of mitigation measures from each of the plans, as well as explanations given for measures subject to delay and revised completion dates. So if we all in agreement of noting, we then move on to agenda item 8, habitat mitigation team update. So back to you, Neil, or back to you, Paul.
Schoolboy error first time. Good afternoon, everyone. So Neil's asked me to speak to this just to hear someone else's voice for the afternoon. I don't know if members have had a chance to have a read the report, but I'll maybe pick out a few highlights, and then if there's anything we want to pick up on them, then Neil and I can hopefully answer questions. Claire, Katie and Sama have been busy over the last few months, and Imo, the other ranger who's on maternity leave, has been coming back and having a few keep in touch days in the meantime as well. Obviously, it was a very good summer weather-wise, so some of the activities were focused on the need for visitors to be cautious in relation to barbecues and fires, and then the pause on path messaging in terms of activities on heath to prevent disturbance to the ground nesting birds. And there were lots of interactions on the Perwed Heaths over the summer period, as well as visits to the Warren as well. The team attended a significant number of events, Broadcliff Fun Day, Budley Gala Week, etc., leading up to Heath Week, which is obviously one of the key events on the heaths over the summer. And then in July, as Neil just mentioned, at the start of the relationship with the Harbour Authority reshaping took place with some shared patrols and more events such as the Exmouth Festival, so on, and Heath Weeks there was in July. Just coming out lots of events as part of Heath Week, which I won't go into detail of, but a significant uplift in interactions compared to June relating to those events. More leave had a slight impact on the events over the key summer period, but there was a dedicated team of volunteers which helped out the team, which comes into their own during that period. There's also been the launch of some stand-up paddleboard SUP patrols, so there's training for that over the summer months as well. I don't know if there's any update on that, maybe we'll pick it up at the end, but I think that's had some positive feedback and some coverage in the media as well. Coming into the autumn, the preparation work was done, and then there's the Let Birds Be competition, which I think has been incredibly successful. So each month, people from September through to December, people have the opportunity to win a Stuart Line cruise. And that's been great in terms of getting the message out there, and in the competition questions, people have to have read through the information on the website, so they're kind of clearly picking up on the key messages there in terms of avoiding disturbance in the key parts of the protected areas. So this is based on the report, which is a few weeks ago. In September, there were over 6,000 views of the competition. I don't know what the final figure was in terms of number of entries for September, but it was a quite significant number, wasn't it?
Over 500 just for the month of September.
So that's an amazing result, and we've got 3 more months to run as well. As Neil mentioned, in terms of Devon Loves Dogs, we've been joined by Trish, and I think she's been a really positive asset to the team already. She's got a photography background, so she's been taking some great photographs of visitors' dogs and getting more information going through the social media channels, as well as enabling the team to run more events, and some interesting new messaging and kind of cross-working with other organisations such as Canicross, and linking with some of the other events that the Wardens were doing. Just looking down the rest of the list. I think we'll probably leave it there. They closed off by saying looking forward to the kind of change in the autumn, and working with the Wardens to promote the wildlife refuges, and yeah, there's a lot more events going on, working with other partners like National Trust and Ashley's Forest Walk next week. So I'll wrap it there. Any comments or questions?
Thank you. Lots of great activity and work here. So it's a really interesting report. So thanks for all the input into that, because it clearly takes a lot of effort, and it's really nice to have it illustrated with some, well, what appears to be live action, but obviously they're stills. But anyway, really, really nicely written report. Just one, I think I should sort of correct this. It's section 3.2. The Harbour Master. The name isn't quite right. You've got Graham Forshaw, but it's not the Forshaw as we know. It's Forshaw. So I can understand why there's a misspelling. But yeah, I thought I ought to correct that. Did make me laugh. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll pass on the positive comments as well as the correction. Thank you.
Any other comments? I would just like to say that it's a fantastic report, and interesting that everyone is smiling in every picture, which it says something, doesn't it? And at the Ex-Estuary Partnership meeting at the Ocean a couple of weeks ago, Claire did a fantastic presentation, and she held the audience for quite some time on what would have been a tricky subject 5 years ago, and it was being accepted as now the norm. So I think we've overcome some hurdles in the last couple of years, and I think we're almost the flavour of the month now. So thank you for that. The recommendation is to note the report. All in favour? Yep, thank you very much. So we go on to Agenda item 9, communications report. And Neil, you're presenting this on behalf of Anne Mountjoy.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is the annual report, annual communications report from September 24 to August this year, detailing the kind of key performance indicators that we use in relation to the aims and objectives of the committee. Again, I'll just pull out a few of the main details, but we undertake bi-monthly reviews with Anne in terms of the data that she's collecting and how that communications work is going, just so that we can understand the environment we're operating in, any stakeholder engagement that's currently live, and the communications, how that's impacting on our overall goals. Now, the communications officer role is limited to 1 day a week, so that does have some kind of resource implications in terms of really the output falls to the wardens and the Devon Lumps Dogs team. So again, depending on the time of year and depending on the amount of work they have with different work streams, that means that our communications effort can kind of rise and fall, increase and decrease accordingly. Nonetheless, we still maintain an ambitious kind of scope of communications throughout the year. And we've recently adopted a campaigns approach, as Paul's just kind of outlined. The refuge one is going very well at the moment. But we're now focusing on particular campaigns at particular times of year, targeting those messages to key groups and getting those key messages across. The changes in our approach do show that we're learning from works well. An example in the report mentions the Boxing Day post, which was repeated again last year. Nearly 20,000 people reached with that single post on Boxing Day. So, you know, spreading the net wide. Also shows that our website statistics are improving in terms of the amount of time that people are spending on the site and the number of visitors we have to the website. And again, that competition in partnership with Stuart Line Cruises, a local business, promoting the Exmouth Wildlife Refuge season and increased awareness of the wildlife of the estuary, cost effective both for us and for Stuart Line Cruises. Our monitoring shows that social media effort and tailoring content in particular is working well. The e-newsletter continues to attract an increasing subscriber attention. The most recent one in autumn was sent to over 3,100 people. And we've also had ongoing outreach and awareness work through press, radio, TV, and as you mentioned, the presentations at forums and AGMs. There is a note in the report just to make it clear that there is the comms resource at the moment is at capacity. So the new strategy does outline increased staff resource for communications, and that's reflected in the 5-year delivery plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil, for that. Yeah, I'm well aware the pressures we have on comms at the moment, and Anne's done a sterling job over the last year. You just look at the list of the articles. Almost every week, I'm getting something on Facebook about what's happening. So that's really a credit to what we're doing. Now we need to keep that face up. Are there any questions or any comments on the? Yes.
Team for what they're doing and, you know, driving up the numbers of hits on the website. It's always good to have people, you know, looking at it. It's double-edged sword in some ways. You want that people feel attracted to the area, what they see, but they're also getting an educational style message as well.
So we move on to agenda item 10, finance report. My favourite bit, finance.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and keep it brief. So the finance report presents an update to the committee on the overall financial position regarding income, expenditure and forecast income over the next 5 years. This report also presents an assessment of the financial position and recommendations to the committee of how to apportion existing funds in line with the updated strategy, as well as the required changes to planning obligations, charges across the region. With the new strategy come revised costs for the Strategic Access Management and Monitoring, or SAM, measures. The revised costs for the SANG, the Suitable Alternative Natural Green Space strategy, will be set out in the new SANG delivery plan, currently in development by the partner authorities. Obviously, Lucy and Paula are working on that, as am I. And I just thought it might help to explain the approach in terms of the contributions and the way that we've dealt, or the way that we're suggesting, recommending to the committee that that's dealt with. So the developer contributions that we've got so far in the bank in reserve, we've reviewed that in line with the new funding framework as set out in the new strategy, which sets out costs between 4 different categories: the all sites category, the ex-estuary category, Dawlish Warren, and the East Devon Pebblebed Heaths. So although it would initially seem logical to reallocate all of our funds immediately according to those categories, around 93% of the total cost of the new strategy is allocated under the all sites cost category. So if we were to allocate according to that, we could essentially restrict essential on-site delivery when there's no cause to do that at present. So instead, what's suggested is, because we have already enough funds to cover the all sites work for at least the next 5 years, the proposal is to first use existing site-specific funds to secure the full 5-year delivery costs for each site, which includes a 15% contingency on those costs. Thereafter, any remaining funds are then moved to the all sites category. This approach ensures continuity, transparency, and financial stability, and it maintains mitigation delivery, supporting the in perpetuity fund, and keeping a healthy balance across all categories by the end of the 5-year plan. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Neil, for your report. Can you explain, in Table 1 on page 49, the EDCC SIL with 1,500,000 in it? I'm not quite clear how that works.
So yes, the SIL identified in Table 1 for East Devon is essentially, that's a result of the legacy issues around SIL and Section 106. Those rules have now changed, but that was essentially the pot that was brought in to enable East Devon to fund what was termed on-site infrastructure costs from SIL, as opposed to SANG, which are obviously what we term off-site infrastructure costs. So the way that East Devon collected funds for infrastructure, it was through the East Devon SIL pot, and it was set aside accordingly.
Thank you for that. But so, where is that money going to be spent? Is my next question.
So we have some flexibility in terms of where those funds could be spent. As it's identified for infrastructure costs, it can either be spent on future on-site infrastructure costs in the strategy, or it could be spent on future SANG costs as well.
Thank you for that. Are there any further questions or comments?
If I may, Chair, so I'd like to ask a question about how Legacy 106 and in future Legacy SIL payments made in are spent in a timely manner in order that there's no requirement for paying them back if they are paid over on a time frame basis, on a restricted time frame basis. Yes.
So this is something that I investigated early on in the strategy, and as soon as the payments are made, then they're considered committed. So thereby we avoid the clawback clauses on the 106. So that's a fairly neat kind of response, really. It's as soon as we get the contribution, then it's considered spent and allocated to the strategy costs.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, please.
Thanks, Chair. I just had a query on Table 2, the updated per dwelling costs. Has that increased? How much has that increased from the previous per dwelling costs?
So it depends on the site, really. The per dwelling costs for the X, I think was around 123. I don't have the figures to hand, unfortunately, but it's a significant increase, potentially 3 or 4 times the previous per dwelling cost, and this is for the SAM measures. So SANG is still to be incorporated.
Any other comments?
Well, I'd welcome a bit more explanation, actually, because I'm not sure I quite follow that, if you wouldn't mind.
So the way that the costs were allocated differ between each local authority. But essentially, if in Exeter, if you were in the X only zone, then you'd pay, under the previous strategy, you would have paid an X specific cost, which was, it started out at £123. I think it then went to 221. If you're in both zones, the X and the pebble beds, then you'd pay the pebble bed zone as well, which would have increased the costs to around £400, I think, just shy of 400. Obviously now we're moving into a different way that the costs are categorised. So we're now whichever zone you're in, you'll pay the all sites cost, and then if you're in the X only zone, you'll pay the additional X cost as well. So that the cost for all sites are spread proportionately across the region.
Thank you for that, Neil. Any other comments? So this time we've got recommendations. Shall I read them out, or are you happy with for this proposal with 3 recommendations? Rather long-winded if I read them out. Everyone happy with recommending all 3? If I can propose that from the chair.
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. We move on to agenda item 11, the 2025-26 annual business plan and 5-year delivery plan. And back over to you, Neil.
Thank you, Chair. So this report puts forward the measures to progress as part of the 25-26 annual business plan, and indicates the direction for the 5-year delivery plan. As we've established, the new strategy is approved, therefore the recommended measures this year follow the direction laid out in the updated mitigation strategy. The strategy recommends targeted investment in staffing, vehicles, operational budgets, site-based management measures, and monitoring to strengthen the delivery of mitigation. Firstly, the wildlife wardens, as we've established, play a vital role, and sustained and enhanced staff capacity is essential to deliver mitigation, enforcement, and community engagement. The wardens are a cornerstone of the mitigation, and additional wardens are needed to provide year-round cover and site-round cover working effectively. Both team leader roles and an additional full-time warden post is recommended. With new wardens, requires new transportation, therefore a new warden vehicle is also recommended, and operational costs for the wardens and Devon Loves Dogs in terms of mitigation projects to deliver throughout the year. One of the more significant projects in the business plan is the development of the Dawlish Warren Visitor Centre interpretation and gateway interpretation. The visitor centre at the Warren is still engaging, but I don't think the displays have changed since I was a trainee there many moons ago. So we also have an issue with the access to the visitor centre being limited, and therefore any of the behavioural messaging you can't get to when the visitor centre is closed. So the proposal seeks approval to update and redesign the centre's interpretation, adding new external displays with key mitigation behavioural messaging, and installing clear gateway signage at the main access points. The improvements are intended to help more visitors understand the importance of the site, the boundaries, the bylaws, and the expected codes of conduct. Also helping to reinforce that Dawlish Warren is a nature reserve and foremost, rather than simply a space for recreation. The business plan also outlines provision for increased campaign work, updates to the ex-codes of conduct as a result of the ex-estuary management partnership forum, educational outreach with schools, wildlife buoy maintenance and repairs, and additional signage and repairs to signage on the X. It also puts forward a revision and an encompassing approach to dog management on the Purple-Bed Heaths. Now nearly 10 years in since we started delivery of mitigation, we're looking to undertake a robust review of the policy and approach on the Heaths with the National Dog Access expert, and also as part of that, increasing the number of dog bins available to visitors to the Heaths. Lastly, following the hottest summer on record in the UK, it's also recommended that work to review and update the Heaths fire strategy is brought forward to ensure that the fire management on the Heaths remains effective and follows best practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil, for that. Any questions or comments, please?
Yeah, couple of questions about the fire hazard management on the Pebblebed Heath. Is there signage there? Is that effective in communicating about, no barbecues? Thank you. That's one question. Sorry.
Thank you. Yes, it's the site managers kind of report a nuanced approach to that on site. The fear is if you advertise the fact that the site is prone to fire risk, then it might bring about vandalism and arson. So it's they kind of keep an enhanced watch on the Heath when you've got dry weather, and local fire crews are on notice. They maintain the fire breaks across the Heaths and so on. One of the things we're looking at potentially bringing forward is a kind of fire watch canine group as part of the Devon Loves Dogs program. So people sign up to it and they can easily and quickly report through if they see any smoke or fire.
Thank you. And can I ask my second question, Chair? Is that okay? Yeah, it's just noted the 3.2 about the existing electric vehicle, and you're recommending a hybrid such as a VW Caddy. And I just wondered whether it was absolutely essential not, to go for hybrid rather than EV, given that the EV vehicles, they're sort of, the range is improving all the time. And I know that certainly the Exeter Council would be hoping that we could stick with EV where absolutely possible. I just thought I'd comment on that.
So the issues we've found with the EV is that we don't have a central hub for the wardens to take the vehicles back to of an evening, or we do, but it's so far out of the way from where they live that it's it's potentially half an hour to 45 minutes of each day just to collect the vehicle and then take it out on the road, and then you've got to take it back there and charge it overnight. So what the wardens do at the moment, they take a vehicle home at the end of the evening just so that they're ready to go and kind of more time efficient in that respect. But of course, they don't necessarily have EV charging points at home, and there are difficulties in terms of, I think there are tax implications in terms of getting recharges if they were to plug in at home, for example. So in terms of the charging and the logistics of an EV, it's really proved quite a bit of a bugbear with the team in terms of ease of use, and yeah, it's something that we've looked at very carefully, but hybrid was really what we thought would work well in terms of maximising their time on site.
Thank you for that. I've got a couple of comments to make about barbecues. We've looked at banning barbecues on our beaches, and one of the issues is if we ban barbecues on the beaches, then where did they go and set up a barbecue? And we've got various common land and the pebble bed heaths, and if we ban barbecues on the beach, the alternative is they might be setting up barbecues on the common. So I think if we do look at barbecues and fire issues, it's broader than just the pebblebed heaths. We need to be looking at pretty well all the area on the issues of barbecues and also fire protection. So hopefully we're not going to have a very limited look at, but if we can broaden it out and include officers in the countryside team, etc., because there's people that are camping along the coastal path that are setting up fires. Again, that's a dangerous area, so we need to combine it with all the other fire issues in the countryside as well. Any other comments? If we haven't got any further comments, so we go, the recommendations are to approve the 2025-26 annual business plan and the commitments and actions set out therein, notes the updated 5-year delivery plan, receives a further update with detailing progress with the 2025-26 annual business plan in October 26. If I can propose that from the chair. Okay, thank you. Agenda item 12, risk register report. Back to you, Neil.
Yeah, me again, thank you, Chair. So this is an annual report on the risks and issues identified regarding all elements of the strategy delivery. Important to note, it doesn't necessarily mean that the risks will be realised or are expected to occur. There are currently no assessed risks classed as severe for the committee to note. There are 3 risks which have been classified as major for their potential impact in delivery and probability of occurring. These are the changes to the habitat regulations as identified in the Planning and Infrastructure Bill, which was at report stage in the House of Lords at the time of writing, local government reorganisation, and delays to mitigation measures identified in the business plans, which we've already covered in the previous report. Thank you.
Are there any comments or questions for Neil on this? Over to you.
Yeah, it's just a point of clarification. I think I now understand the table that goes from page 88 over to 89 and 90. So you've got, yeah, because it's spread over 2 pages. I hadn't actually realised it was a sort of like a graph. So that makes sense. So I've just about got that one. But what I don't understand is where you've got a number saying 4 minor, 7 moderate, 8 moderate, where there, those numbers, you know, there in each section, they've got a number with whether it's moderate or those. I didn't quite understand what that meant. The 4 minor, the 7 moderate, the 5 moderate, the 8 moderate. Some of them, yeah, 9 major, 11 major. Didn't understand that.
Okay, so
Oh, sorry.
thank you. So it's really a sliding scale of the assessment and the level of risk within each categorisation. So on the cover sheet of Appendix B, you've got those 4 categorisations and the numbers. So 1 minor is really kind of considered very, very low risk indeed. A 4 minor would be, you know, minor to moderate risk. It's really intended as a sliding scale of risk categorisation.
So how do you get, how do you work out what is a 9 major as opposed to an 11 major?
That's based on my understanding of the situation when the report's written. So it's my assessment of the risk in terms of the deliverability of the strategy and how that's affected by the risks that have been categorised.
Thank you for that. I've got a couple of questions. Where are we on the 2 items here on the environmental operational statistic that the government is proposing? I think I read that it was at the House of Lords last. Now, what probability is there that Natural England would take over with the responsibilities?
Thank you, Chair. It's been the subject of some discussion between ourselves and local Natural England representatives. We also spoke to a national representative. It's not clear at the moment. Obviously, the bill is still passing through the House of Lords, and the decision may be that Natural England becomes the delivery body for the whole of habitat mitigation across the country. That's one possible outlook. There have been indications that where projects are already established and working well, it wouldn't necessarily make sense at this time to kind of fix it if it isn't broken, if I can use that phrase. But you know, everything depends on the outcome of the bill.
Thank you for that, Neil. And the other thing is local government reorganisation. We don't know where that's going yet, do we? But it's something that we need to be aware of. How would it work if, for instance, there's changes to there's obviously going to be changes to the three councils, and how is that going to play out, or is it something that we can't really assess until we know exactly where the new boundaries are going to be?
I would say again that's very difficult to assess at the moment because nobody knows what that's going to look like. What we do know is that the sites still require the same mitigation protection, and their boundaries aren't changing in the near future. So the requirement for mitigation will still be there. It's just in what form and how that's organised in terms of delivery and governance.
Yeah, now, obviously, towns and parishes are keen to know what is going to be passed down to them. Play parks, for instance, some recreation fields and stuff, but something like Sangs areas that would have to be passed on to the new unitary, and they will have to take the carry on the management of that.
If you don't mind, Chair, I might ask Paul to comment on that. You've been doing some work in this kind of field recently. Is that okay, Paul?
Yeah.
Sorry, Paul.
That's fine, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Neil. I think it's probably a similar answer, isn't it? We don't really know at the moment what the form will be. The work that Lucy and I have been working on, which we'll share in due course, was looking at in terms of the amount of housing that's been delivered within the mitigation zones across the three authorities. What is the quantum of SANG already to deliver, and then how that's then apportioned in terms of funding that in relation to the housing in each authority. Obviously, as the authorities move around and combine or don't combine in whichever format, that will have to then be revisited and apportioned accordingly. But the overall, same with the rest of the mitigation strategy, the overall proportion of SANG shouldn't change. So it will just be a question of how it's organised and how it's funded, really. I think we'll have to work through, hopefully, to answer the question.
But it would be the responsibility of the new unitary to manage the SANGs and to take ownership of those.
I guess it depends on what that management organisation said. The two existing SANG, Dawlish and Ridgetop, are managed by the Land Trust. They will be managed by the Land Trust in perpetuity, so that shouldn't change. The other strategic SANG that's been delivered is Cranbrook Country Park. That's managed by the Town Council, so that shouldn't change. What we'll need to agree in terms of other strategic SANG that come forward is who the best management organisation will be, and there may be some options for that. One would be that it goes to a third-party organisation like the Land Trust again. It could then be managed by the unitary authority, and some work we've been doing suggests that may be the cheapest option in terms of management, because if you transfer to a third-party organisation, you have to pay a management fee as well as the management costs. Or it could be, there's two other approaches. One is it goes to in this case, it would be a second tier, wouldn't it? But the parish or town council could take on the management if they have the capacity to do so. And in terms of some of our other assets, we're looking at how we can pass some of those down to those councils. So that may be appropriate. Or the third option is there are some sites for SANG which may be partnership arrangements. So we may be looking to work with the existing landowners who have existing significant areas of say heathland or forest or other land types that they manage already, that then could perhaps take on the management of the SANG if it's agreed on their land, and that would have to be dealt with through a partnership agreement and funding agreement with them to set out how that would be dealt with in perpetuity. So I think there's kind of 3 or 4 options, and it will really depend on who the organisations are and the exact location of those SANG as they come forward. as Neil suggested, Chair, so I'll just finish off. We're kind of working on a strategy at the moment, which I'd hope we might be able to bring to the next executive committee. I think we've got to, officers are working on that at the moment. Hopefully we're starting to share that with the portfolio holders in each authority, and certainly over the next few weeks as that starts to kind of crystallise, I'd hope we can do so. And then because each authority has got to fund their proportion, obviously there need to be conversations within the authorities before it comes to this committee so that everyone's clear on what we're signing up to. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. Is there any other comments or questions? If not, there is the recommendation is to note the identification, categorisation and prioritisation of risks as recorded in the accompanying risk register associated with delivery of the South East Devon Wildlife Joint Habitat Site Mitigation Strategy. 2, notes the control measures in place to mitigate the risks identified. And 3, receives an updated risk register report in the next 12 months. So if I can propose that from the chair, everyone's happy. Thank you very much. The only thing I would say is if anything comes through on what the government wants to do about how the management, if we can be informed ASAP by email or WhatsApp or whatever, we'd like to know. Thank you very much for that. So that brings our meeting to a close, and I would like to thank everyone for attending today. So thank you very much.